Dr. Rick, and today's unboxing is on Ivermectin. Ivermectin is a prescription drug. This was at Walgreens. I think it was 25 bucks, but I wanted to talk about it. So I grabbed it from my patient before they put it into the storage bin. It's always going to be patients that push a little bit to make me investigate. And I did do some research, and you don't have to read all this stuff. But sorry, I'm cutting down trees with that, but I'm reusing my paper. The thing is, when the masses bring on information and one person finds a possible jewel, I think it's worth investigating and sharing, and that's what I'm doing here. This is not meant to be medical advice, a substitute for it, so please bring the data, and you can download these yourself and print them up on used paper, but bring it to your doctor and see if it pertains to you or if it could help you. But again, my new patient that I met through my Herbal 411 website brought up the question about whether they can have it, and I said thumbs up. The reason I gave you the frying pan was not to be graphic, but if a bad guy came into your house and you had a gun, if you're good and you're safe and there's nothing behind the bad guy when you shoot him, cool. If you don't have a gun, you can repurpose a kitchen knife if you know how to use a kitchen knife, but truthfully, if you're defending yourself, go for anything. You can also repurpose a frying pan and use that as self-defense. But bottom line is that if you don't have a gun, you go for whatever you can. And with this COVID-19 infection that's still out there, going on close to a year, everybody's got comorbid conditions, and we're working on that. If you haven't, you better start, because we're not going to have a good cure till late summer, I predict. However, the vaccines are coming out, but that's not a guarantee either. Again, there's no real treatment plan just yet. There's repurposed hydroxychloroquine, repurposed Zithromax, high-dose vitamin D, there's vitamin B1, there's zinc, so quercetin. There's a lot of things that are out there that are supposedly low risk, high potential value, but I really think that this potential is documented, and it's with a prescription drug that was approved for something else, and we'll get into that. There. This is a division of the World Health Organization that said use caution because the data that's out there on ivermectin and COVID could be biased. This was a rejected paper that was released saying that we like ivermectin, but the data accumulation and the results that were analyzed were kind of wrong. So be careful. When doctors review and suggest thumbs up or thumbs down, they base it on research, and sometimes the research can be skewed or outright wrong. And a lot of crap out there is really statistically based. So if you don't know anything about statistics, you have to take this to your doctor and challenge your doctor to interpret it for you. So ivermectin has been used safely with vets or veterinary medicine and for parasites. That's what the bottom line is. It was developed in the 1970s for parasitic infections, but again, repurposed. 222 different animals with low toxic side effects. So thumbs up so far as side effects. This also was a study that looked at side effects for its use in scabies. My dad, before he passed away, developed scabies, and I gave him treatment plans over the phone. He eventually got ivermectin, and it abolished everything, because when you take that drug, it will not hurt you, the majority of people out there. But it will kill the parasite. And scabies is a little mite. It's also a parasite. But if you give something to a parasite that's trying to eat you and you kill it without killing you, that's a win. The question, though, is can you apply a repurposed medicine without side effects? Well, doctors, before they do that, have to have randomized control, double-blinded trials. And those are expensive. And when we don't have a treatment plan and people are dying, we need to speed things up. And again, to develop a new medicine like the vaccines, each of those pharmaceuticals will have to spend about $1 billion quickly to develop something fast and then have it passed, emergency authorization or not. That's a lot of money. Do we need to do $1 million or $1 billion study just to repurpose? No. So the guys out of Virginia came up with, there's a group out of Virginia that came up with, they're ICU based, and they're just having frustration about seeing people die. So they came up with a protocol on their own, pretty decent, low risk, and it seems to be working. So check out the work of Paul Merrick. There was, how I saw this, I noticed this on C-SPAN, there is a doctor that was talking, Dr. Corey. These are the manuscripts from the Senate presentation. Dr. Corey was really getting emotional about his conviction to say, we need more research. And when I can understand, because he's a frontliner, he's seeing death, and he's like, what's going on? We're bypassing all the cheap drugs. This is $25 without insurance. We're bypassing all the cheap drugs to go to the massive drugs. And we have good data. So Math Plus or something called iMask. So they actually have a protocol on how to use ivermectin and other things. So this is nice because it also presents a timeline of the virus if you are interested. Sorry, this is repurposed paper. But the timeline is nice. It also gives you a breakdown on the protocol. iMask is the protocol for outpatient. Math Plus is the protocol for inpatient, especially if they're going into cytokine storms. So, but again, there's a protocol. There's a protocol. So I think we should adapt it. But again, your doctor and you guys have to figure out. Now, this is a paper that talked about IC50. IC50 is the dose that's necessary to have plasma concentrations. So if you have a plasma concentration, hopefully the medicine will work. And the old data from the animals that I showed you, I think that they're dosing for animals or big animals or small animals with 0.2 to 0.4 micrograms per kilo. And that's a dosing that we all use as doctors. But this one said that, and this one too, these two studies said that you might have to go a higher dose. So this was a white paper that was done on a presentation that was done on using 12 milligrams twice a day for 5 to 7 days. Also low side effect profile and high therapeutic levels. So it does, they wanted to go a little higher than the 0.2 to 0.4 micrograms per kilo dose that was used for animals and humans as far as parasites. But this is a study from Bangladesh that talked about, and you can freeze and research on your own, talked about using 12 milligrams per day in addition to doxycycline. Doxycycline is an antibiotic, typically for acne, and they used ivermectin and doxy, and still, regardless of whether the trial was with the doxy or without the doxy, ivermectin helped. So again, we're getting more and more data that says it might be helpful. And I already showed you the data that it's, the toxicity is very, very low. So this is just information that showed about how ivermectin came about. It was discovered by Dr. Campbell in the 70s, who concurrently received a Nobel Prize in 2015. Pretty cool. So, and they used it as a broad spectrum for anti-parasites. But they also found further research with the drug for flavivirus, specifically Zika, and chikungunya. So they found positive results. There are other studies that they did for HIV and a couple other viruses. So you have the timeline of a 1970s antiparasitic being discovered and thumbs up, but then kind of trudging along until it's for scabies and parasites, animals and humans. And then you see in vitro studies showing pretty decent results with some viruses. So already some positive, some equivocal, but low side effects. And now you have the potential for using it for this virus. And I think all the data is saying, yes, thumbs up. Again, when a drug is found to be safe and useful for humans and accepted by, of the 9,000 drugs that are out there that are useful for humans, repurposing is not a problem. It saves you that $1 billion investment into a randomized double-blinded control trial. So we can, as doctors, use medicines as off-label. That's what this is. This is off-label. Now, if my patient happened to get parasites and scabies, I haven't had anybody die yet. I heard about some deaths with relatives of my patients, but I suggest a lot of vitamins, and I'll put the links to my YouTube channel down below. But check them out. This is also a review for ivermectin. And the rest of these are mostly reviews, so you can check out on your own. Yeah, this is nice because it was the mechanism of action. So this is how it works. There's something called a transporter that if you have a cell and the virus tries to get into the cell because of spike proteins, once it gets into the cell, it has to go to the factory, which is the nucleus. So without getting into the weeds, coronavirus is an RNA virus. It gets itself into the cell. It then transports itself using the cell's transport system into the nucleus, and it starts to take over and replicate itself and make massive amounts of virus. But ivermectin, theoretically, according to that study, mechanism of action was that it blocked the transport from cytosol into the nucleus. If you can stop that, it can't replicate, or it decreases the replication tremendously. That's the reveal here. There's other possible mechanisms of action, but that's the one that was proven already. So this is the SAINT study, and it went with figuring out a proper dose for ivermectin, especially with regards to COVID. And I think everything's pointing towards 0.2 to 0.4 micrograms per kilo. So if you have a 70, it comes out to about 12 milligrams to 14 milligrams a day. And that's the bottom line that you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about calculating stuff. Do we have to wait till the results are out there? For doctors, yes, we do have to wait before we start recommending it to everybody, but we do have the power to off-label prescribe. And I already give this to my patient. I made sure that he's cool, doesn't have any other medical problems. The side effects, as I alluded to in the first two papers, I think the biggest side effect, animal or a human, was headache. And when the study showed that when you stopped the medicine, the headache went away, no residual. So that's a win. Finally, again, this is another study. And the bottom line with this study, like all the others, is we need more research. Now, you'll hear that over and over again from a lot of doctors before they commit. I think malpractice has forced us to say, I'm not going to make that suggestion because you might take my license and I might get sued. But honestly, we're also healers. And I think being a healer and a coach, we have to make the best suggestion for our patients to survive, stop suffering, make it to 100 years of age. Those of you who follow me on YouTube, I'm always talking about longevity and health span, and they always have to go together. To be living till 90 but be obese and on a ventilator and be gorked out because you have dementia, that's not cool. But to be living into the 90s and 100s like the blue zones and just independent and contributing back to society and raising your great-great-grandkids, that would be awesome. And it would decrease the burden on Medicare to the government. That'd be great, but we're not there yet. So bottom line is stay healthy. Take care of your comorbid conditions like diabetes, obesity. Work on that stuff because the vaccines aren't going to exactly save everybody. I think if you decrease your comorbid conditions, you'll make it out in case you get sick. And I got sick 4 days and I'm done. And now I'm donating convalescent plasma to help other people. And I can also be a frontline worker if I can get a hospital to hire me, but too many. I'll be doing a quantum shift, so check it out on YouTube. Take this information to your doctor. Maybe share this with your friends, your family who are high risk, and they might be able to empower themselves and their doctors to do more research. I'll see you at the next Instagram video.